Sometimes it can be difficult to enjoy stuff from the British brainwashing cult, especially since they seem to take immense pleasure in polluting minds with 100% unnecessary social commentary. Just entertain us, and we'll be happy. It's not that complicated. But no, every so often you can almost hear the BBC boardroom muttering, "We can't just make people laugh, we need to make them think in the correct way." And that's the problem. When they do pure comedy, it can be utterly mindless, like Bottom, where two blokes beating the living daylights out of each other somehow became cultural gold. Other times, though, you get something smart, something layered, but it wears the mask of stupidity. That's where Red Dwarf comes in. It disguises deep philosophical musings on humanity, isolation and existential despair beneath a thick coating of smeg jokes and curry-stained banter. It's a show that pretends to be dumb, but only so it can sneak brilliance past the guards. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Damon, and today we're looking at one of Britain's most deceptively clever sci-fi comedies, Red Dwarf. So, the main setting of the series is the eponymous mining spaceship Red Dwarf. In the first episode, which is set sometime in the late 21st century, a radiation leak kills everyone aboard except for the lowest-ranking technician, Dave Lister, who's in suspended animation at the time. Punishment for, smuggling a cat onto the ship. Said cat, Frankenstein, happens to be pregnant and safe in the cargo hold. When Lister wakes up 3 million years later, the radiation has finally cleared, leaving him as the last human being in the universe. Well, not entirely alone. His insufferable former bunkmate Arnold Rimmer has been resurrected as a hologram to keep him sane, and their only other companion is Cat, a preening, self-absorbed, humanoid descendant of Lister's long-lost feline. Later on, they're joined by Crichton, an overly polite mechanoid with a malfunctioning moral subroutine, and the ship's senile computer, Holly. The beauty of Red Dwarf is that it works on two levels. On one hand, it's pure science fiction, time distortions, mutated diseases, paradoxes, and wormholes. On the other, it's a biting social and psychological satire. Despite its absurd setting, it's never really about space at all. It's about the characters trapped within it. The show uses sci-fi as a backdrop for the ultimate odd couple dynamic between Lister and Rimmer, two men who, honestly, would rather walk out an airlock than share another curry together, yet are condemned to do so for, well, eternity. Now let's talk lost potential, because Red Dwarf was this close to giving us a proper continuation with Series 3's abandoned concepts. Before the show evolved into its sleeker, more fast-paced format, there were plans to delve deeper into the psychological consequences of isolation and, the moral decay of humanity over time. There were early ideas floating about exploring Holly's growing sentience, Rimmer's self-awareness of his holographic nature, and a darker tone for Lister's descent into madness as the last man alive. Instead, we got a partial reset. The tone shifted from claustrophobic sci-fi comedy to more slapstick adventures. Don't get me wrong, the Starbug era is fantastic fun, but there's always that nagging sense that a more somber, cerebral version of Red Dwarf was left to drift off into deep space, never to be realized. That lost potential could have elevated the series even further, blending the dry wit with the psychological tension it occasionally flirted with. I love Red Dwarf for its sci-fi concepts, humor, themes, and characters, but it's a show that I've experienced highs and lows with over the past 30-something years. The plot follows Lister, Rimmer, Cat, and eventually Crichton as they travel across time and space, play pool with planets, and dive headfirst into bizarre, often mind-bending situations. Continuity was never a strong point, and frankly, it didn't need to be. Each episode felt like a sandbox for Doug Naylor and Rob Grant to toss their characters into increasingly absurd situations, whether it be body-swapping alternate dimensions or an army of psychotic vending machines. The writers weren't afraid to borrow from or parody Star Trek, Alien, and, just countless other sci-fi landmarks. But the real genius is in how those parodies became self-contained thought experiments, exploring themes like friendship, loneliness, religion, slavery, capitalism, and even fate. Beneath the jokes and gags lies genuine heart, something honestly rare in modern comedies that are more focused on ticking boxes than telling stories. The humor, of course, is driven entirely by character. The Rimmer versus Leicester dynamic remains the lifeblood of the show. Two diametrically opposed personalities trapped together forever. When it works, it's glorious. When it doesn't, well, it's still funny, just not always sharp. And while Kat's narcissism often wears thin, seriously, one of the weakest running gags of the entire show, it serves as a weirdly effective contrast to Crichton's servile humility and Rimmer's neuroses. The performances are the beating heart of Red Dwarf. Craig Charles infuses Lister with a scruffy, everyman charm, equal parts slob and philosopher, really. Danny John Jules brings the cat to life with perfect comic timing, even if, let's be honest, the character rarely evolves. Robert Llewellyn's Crichton steals scenes with his stiff, deadpan wit, while Norman Lovett's original Holly delivers pure comedic gold through understatement alone. And then there's Chris Barrie as Rimmer, one of the greatest comedy creations of all time. Petty, insecure, desperate for validation, and yet somehow strangely sympathetic. Barrie plays him with surgical precision, elevating Rimmer to the pantheon of British sitcom legends alongside Basil Fawlty and Del Boy. For me, the show's golden age spans series 1 through 6. Pure lightning in a bottle. The writing was tight, the jokes hit, and the world building was just bonkers enough to work. The tone drifted, the writing lost focus, and it felt like Red Dwarf was trying too hard to reinvent itself for syndication, rather than embracing what made it special. The revival series has its moments, though. Fathers and Sons stands out as one of the best post-classic episodes, blending emotion and humor beautifully. Still, the overall quality feels uneven. Not terrible, just different. The energy of the original run is hard to recapture. There are countless standout episodes. Thanks for the Memory, White Hole, Body Swap, Justice, Sirens, and the legendary Quarantine. But for me, Tika to Ride marks the last truly great episode before things took a nosedive. Now, credit where it's due, even in its weakest points, Red Dwarf never became unbearable. The core chemistry between the cast carried it through every experiment, every tonal shift, and, well, every questionable decision. That's a testament to its strength as a character-driven show, not just a sci-fi parody. Red Dwarf isn't just a sitcom, it's a mirror to humanity's flaws wrapped in cosmic absurdity. It's stupidly smart and smartly stupid, and honestly, that's what makes it timeless. From curry-stained decks to time-travel paradoxes, it remains one of Britain's most brilliant, bizarre, and beloved shows. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and, leave your opinion in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.